this video, we're going to go over the basics for the mids in a 3-3-1 zone. So there will be 3 of them. There's the open side mid, the mid, and the weak side mid. So we have over here, just to make sure we know, we have open mid or strong side mid. We have mid, and we have weak side mid or break side mid. So the open side mid is kind of the most straightforward of them. His job is just to stop the throws coming over into his space. That's his only job, really. He will need to communicate with the mid to know who's going to pick up people that go in between. Someone goes down the middle between the 2 of them. They have to talk to know who's going to get him. But the open side mid is kind of the primary stopper of things. Typically, the offense, if the disc is here, this handler is going to want to throw away from the cup. And so the open side is mid is the one who's in the spaces where the handler wants to throw to. So he'll be very busy, but it's quite fairly straightforward. The mid covers these middle spots, but one of the other things about the mid is they need to be a good communicator and talk with everybody, because they have to coordinate with the open side mid. Like we said, for these throws over here, the mid covers like all of this area. These throws down the middle, because down the middle, the open side mid the mid has to communicate with the open side mid about who's going to get it. And also the mid needs to keep track of the 3 in the cup to make sure that everything is being covered just to the side of the 3 in the cup. That'll be particularly important when the cup is moving in transition. Then we could call the mid the team captain of the zone defense. They're going to be the one who's kind of perhaps talking the most or calling the shots and communicating. You have to be very heads up, because you will have to keep track of cutters here and things going on in here. And that's probably the spot that requires the most heads up, most field awareness. The weak side mid, their job is to stop the in-cuts, clean up jank, and help deep. So first of all, they're stopping any in-cuts over in this general area. So that'll become very important. If the disc is over on this sideline, then that break side mid or weak side mid is going to have more responsibilities. Okay. And their job is also to clean up jank. So any sort of high floaty throw that comes over in their space all the way down, even if it's to the handler, they can go for. If they're like 90% sure they're going to get it, they can go try to get it. So you'll see that happen sometimes, where at a high stall count, a crazy high hammer or something will come over to here, or just a really high throw that if there's wind, the wind will mess it up, and that is the time that the weak side mid can come all the way down to the handler space to get it. The weak side mid is also the help deep. So if we get 2 people out deep, then the deep will take 1, and we'll call for help for the break side mid to go pick up the other one. This break side mid is typically going to be someone who, they'll have the break side mid will communicate a lot with the deep to make sure that they always know if they're needed or not. Okay, so those are each of the mids kind of in general. And then there's principles that we want to talk about. The first is, well, we'll go through them all. Butt to a sideline, eye control, those are pretty related. Cutting off lanes and don't mark contain. About 3 of those basically say a similar thing. So the first is butt to a sideline. It goes right along with eye control. The point of the mids is not to watch the disc and then when the thrower throws it to be ready for their 20-foot hand block. The point of the mids is to make it so the handler doesn't want to throw it to the cutters. So if this cutter is cutting in, then all the mids have to do is prevent the thrower from throwing that throw, which means they don't even have to see the thrower. They don't have to get the D. They just have to make the thrower not want to throw it. So if I'm this, say we decide the open side mid is going to pick up this cut. As this person starts cutting in, the open side mid is just going to come stand in the way. It doesn't have to get the D necessarily. Like I said, they're not watching for the D. They're just going to be in the way, and then this cutter is going to not want to cut anymore. It's going to leave. And then as long as the cutter sticks around, a mid should be staying right with them to prevent any throw to them. You just have to be close enough to be able to make a play on it. And so 2 things that we do to help with that is eye control and butt to a sideline. So butt to a sideline means that you should be standing sideways on the field. So these lines represent kind of the midfielders' legs and shoulders and arms and the way they're facing. So in this case, the arrow is the way their head should be pointing, which way is forward for them. So the open side mid has their butt to this sideline. And then the mid eyes are going to be looking more toward the open side, and same with the weak side mid. So that means this this cutter over here is almost in the blind spot of the open side mid, but the open side mid is going to be looking mostly back at the cutters and not very often at the handlers. Because even if the disc gets swung over to this guy and he's looking to go up here, this mid is going to start coming in for that, and the open side mid can react and just come stand right here. And now there's no throw to be made. So that's the idea of eye control and having your butt to the sideline. Keep your body sideways and don't look at the handler that's holding the disc. Look at the cutters that are cutting in and then get in front of them as they cut in. Just stay between them and the disc, and that will be good enough. That is the idea of cutting off lanes. You don't have to actually be close to the person to prevent their cut. If this person starts cutting in, then if the mid comes stands here, suddenly this guy isn't going to be open. And if he changes his direction to come over to here, then all the mid has to do is come back a little bit, and he's still guarded. Yeah, so the big thing is if you see a lane, especially if the lane is open, like in this case, then like someone should go fill that lane. So the mid would probably stand more like here. Yeah. And then the last thing that is super important is don't mark contain. So if this guy comes in, gets the disc, what's going to happen is this open side mid is going to want to come stand in front of him and start stall counting. And that is the wrong thing to do. What the open side mid should do, if the disc gets to here, open side mid should push deeper. All of these other cutters are going to go deeper, and the open side mid should follow them, contain, stop the next dangerous throw, not come stand right by the disc. It will happen sometimes. The person that the throw you should have prevented will happen, and you'll think that you should go guard the person, but you definitely should not go guard mark the person. Get back into your correct position, and the cup will come get the mark. And that's the basics of the mids.